Seems like we're living in a world where we are just bouncing from one horrifying case involving victims who are children to another. And as you guys know, we have been following the Ohio 16 case for the last couple of weeks. But one of the cases that we really have been following for quite a long time has been the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who was a Lake Elsinore teenager who got into the orbit of, online musical superstar D4vd, shout out to Pascal, David Anthony Burke, this guy right here, and ended up dead, dismembered, decomposing, and in his car. Now, with this case, we have been waiting for this moment, which is the preliminary hearing that has been happening. Today was day 2 of the preliminary hearing. This is our first video covering the prelim. And there's a lot that comes out in a preliminary hearing. Just so you guys know, so we're all on the same page. Everybody knows this. I don't know why I'm preaching to the choir here, but a preliminary hearing is a legal mechanism that is used in order to move a case or not from the lower courts into the higher court. Basically, what we're wondering here is, do police and prosecutors have enough evidence to convince a judge to let this case continue on to trial? If the answer is yes, then off it goes. If the answer is no, the case is dismissed. Usually without prejudice, sometimes with prejudice, usually without, almost always without. But the question du jour here is there enough evidence to proceed to court? And if we go by the reporting, which has been beautifully and professionally done by so many news outlets, because in California, so far, no cameras are allowed. There's no cameras allowed in there, probably because we've got a teen victim and very, very sensitive evidence, photography, things like that. They're trying to protect the victim and the victim's family, which I think is appropriate. But we have had some court reporters in there. We've had some sketch artists in there. And by court reporters, I don't mean the one who keeps the official record. I mean, reporters have been in there. There have been sketch artists in there, and there is some very, very good reporting out of the Los Angeles Superior Court. Now, before I go too far, I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Guys, today is Wednesday, July 22nd, the year of our Lord 2026. On Wednesdays, I do an after show for my YouTube channel members and my patrons. Last time we did the after show, I believe it was Mooney who said, hey, can we do the next one from y'all dark room? If you guys don't know, I love black and white photography, have been a black and white photography aficionado since I was 13 years old, and recently have started building a dark room in my old basement. So what I got is I got like a little microphone to put on. I got the little holder for my phone that won't let go of it and drop my phone into chemicals like happened last time. And we are all set for our after show from the basement of Gavin and Kimberly's historic home in Western Pennsylvania. We will be processing on this very Ilford paper an 8x10 negative, which we will be contact printing and talking as we go. So I don't know, the after shows are really relaxed. They're informal. They're kind of fun. We can just kind of chat. This one's going to be done from my phone, so I'm going to be doing a little less chatting and more working, but you guys are welcome. Now, if you are a member, all you have to do is go to my YouTube channel, to my posts page. You guys are going to have to forgive me. I've got a runny nose today. Just give me a second. Sorry about that, guys. I've got a runny nose today. Anyway, if you are a member, just go to my posts page and the link is there. Patrons, the link is in Patreon. And thanks to one of my patrons, I have made it so that you can interact with me on the live chat, which for some reason I hadn't done before. So that is all set up. And then afterwards, for members and patrons on the Rewatch crew, it'll be posted for members on YouTube and for patrons on Patreon. So that is what is going to happen. Also, I believe tomorrow we're going to be continuing our coverage of the D4vd preliminary hearing. And then on Friday, we'll be doing our weekly wrap up with our guest, Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime, my partner in true crime. So that is what's going on. Now, before we really dive in, why don't we get to the question of the day? It's a fun little tradition that we're doing here, have been doing for a little while. Question of the day for y'all is, what is it? It is, what's a small family tradition or habit you didn't realize was special until later? Put GF in your comments so I can see what you're saying over in the live chat in the comments. Put GF. Try to answer this question of the day. It pairs with our 3 questions segment later, like beautiful cheese and fine wine, like I know anything about either. So, but that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to give you a little foreshadowing. So what's a small family tradition or a family habit that you didn't realize was special until later on? While you are answering the question of the day, don't forget to tell me where you are tuning in from. I just love that. What are we going to do today? We're going to cover Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We're going to do 3 questions. We've got headlines in the Nolan Wells case, in the Karen Reed case. That it's actually much bigger than Karen Reed. We've got some good news for you today. All that. We got 10 pounds of content to put in a 5-pound show. So Javi, go ahead and push your button. Let's get this thing. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with yours truly. My name is Gavin. What's your name? Go ahead, what's your name? Yeah? Well, it's nice to meet you. Hopefully you got your thumbs and little fingers all exercised up and are at this very minute answering the question of the day and telling me where you're tuning in from. Question of the day, what's the small family tradition or habit you didn't realize was special until much, much later on? Can't wait to read what you guys are saying over there in the live chat. And I'm really looking forward to our after show today as I work at contact printing an 8x. Guys, I can't tell you how special this is to me. Okay. I've told you the story before, but my high school photo teacher, who was a real mentor to me for 4 years, told me last year that he was planning on burning all of his negatives. He didn't want, he's an auteur, he's an artiste, he didn't want anybody other than himself doing anything with his prints, with his negatives. And I was like, okay, but first of all, eccentric much? And second of all, I would love to buy a print from you from the time that you were my teacher. Would you be willing to do that? And what he ended up doing was offering me a negative. How about I just give you a negative and you can process it? And I was like, that is so amazing. But you know what he did? He gave me 70 negatives, 35 millimeter, medium format, 4x5 and 8x10 that I get to play around with. And then he burned the rest. So I have, it's very special to me. I don't know if it comes across just how blessed I feel by my teacher, who we've known each other for what? Well, since 1989, so 37 years, that he would do that for me. And I'm excited to share with you the first time that I'm going to take a look at a positive of this 8x10 negative. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Okay, let's see. Question of the day. Let's head on over into the old live chat. Hey, Marie Jubenville is is 12 months. You've been a fanatic for a year. She says, my mom made pork pies every Christmas growing up. I miss it since she passed away. I bet you do. Those kinds of things that you're just like, hey, this is just what happens. This is just what happens. And then one day it is over. And thank you for sharing that with us. Melissa says, ooh, cool, can't wait. I imagine, oh, you are a member. I see your little shark fin there. So I hope that you join me. Gail, also a member, says, from Ohio, decorating Christmas cookies together with family. That's a terrific tradition. Miku Chan says, my parents would let me open one present on Christmas Eve growing up, made waiting for Christmas Day a little easier. We had the same thing when I was growing up, and we do the same thing with our children. That's awesome. Christine Meadows, a member, is checking in from Marietta, Georgia. Thank you very much. Melissa from Arkansas. Sharky Sharona, also a member, checking in from South Lake Tahoe. Glad you are here. Wonder Woman says, Waffle House with my son at 4 a.m. He's moved out on his own many states away now. I miss those times so much. Isn't it fun, though, to watch your children spread their wings and fly? And I know that might come off as rather cliche, but it is a beautiful thing to witness as a parent, is it not? Kim says, from Toronto, traditional big roast beef and Yorkshire pudding supper on Sundays. P.S. I still do this with my dad and stepmom. That's cool. I'm not a fan of the Yorkshire pudding, but I'm not an egg guy, so that's kind of my thing. Port Alberni, BC is checking in. What else we got? B Michigan says cold ham sandwiches, not sandwiches, sandwiches. After Christmas, midnight mass, and iced cinnamon rolls for Christmas breakfast after opening gifts. It's been decades since having mom's homemade bread and rolls. Oh, when I was growing up, my mom would make homemade bread, and she would do it, I don't know, every month probably, and then put it all in the freezer. And every day, I guess, pull out a loaf, thaw it, and we would have everything was made on homemade bread. And I remember at the time going, why can't we be like everybody else and have store-bought bread? Why can't we have the Wonder Bread? Why can't we have the split top butter bread? Why can't we have, blah, 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 blah. I had no idea how good we had it to have fresh baked bread all the time. Oh, man. Wish I still had that. Becky Johnson said, my mother made date nut cookie bars every year for Christmas. That's pretty fun. Plum duff for Christmas dessert. Steamed pudding cake. It was awesome, says Sharon. Rhonda checking in from Lubbock, Texas. At Christmas, we always gave all adults crazy gifts and a Christmas gift bag. One year, I bought all the grown men thong underwear. Now I have to do better than that every year. That's funny. Last year, the Fish Family Christmas card was epic. So I'm feeling what you're feeling. Last year, the Christmas card was amazing. It was the second time I have just really outdone myself on the Christmas card. And so I've been working on the 2026 Christmas card ever since. Like, what can I do to outdo? Yeah, I get it. I get it. Robin says, my kids grew up with a grandma who always served multiple, like 5 or more desserts for holiday dinners. So when the holidays arrive, we love the dessert buffet tradition we didn't know we had. That's awesome. Diane says, coloring Easter eggs before our Easter meal. Each member of the family picks an egg 2 by 2. We each hit the egg with egg. Last one with an egg intact is the winner. That's pretty fun. Melissa says, well, since my father passed away in 2011, and so did my mom 2 years ago, I never knew until 2 years ago just how special Thanksgiving and Christmas was to our family. We haven't spent one. I'm sorry to hear that, but no, the holidays are a special time. Mooney says, carving pumpkins and roasting seeds. I do love roasted pumpkin seeds. Gluten-free, I didn't see your original post. It's tradition in Europe to do that anyway, but I really miss it. I guess I missed the first one. You got to put GF and everything. All right, I miss it. So many Christmas and Thanksgiving things going on today. Gluten-free. Oh, okay, Grandma's Christmas cheesecake and apple strudel. Got it. Gavin, you can do vegan Yorkies without the egg. But is it a Yorkie? I don't know. Stevens Point, Wisconsin, checking in, having Christmas at Grandma's house. I miss those days too. Sharky says, my mom would always get us chocolate initials for our names for Christmas, a Dutch tradition. That is awesome. Great. Hey, great sharing, everybody. Thank you very much. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Very sorry about my sniffles today. I'm telling you, when I get a cold, it lasts. It lasts and lasts and lasts. Let's see what just came in. The sisters from Charlotte, North Carolina are in the house. For Christmas, my dad always bought graphic tees tailored for each family member and guest. We miss him greatly. How great is that? Tailored graphic tees. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Now, let's get into the case of the day. Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Celeste was a 14-year-old girl from Lake Elsinore, California. She, I think it's fair to say, was a habitual runaway. It might be fair to say, but it was not beautiful to say. When I say it like that, Javi, she was an habitual runaway. She was, I don't know that she was a runaway in the sense that, like, I don't know, she was going off to join the circus or the Foreign Legion or something like that. No, she was just a kid that was a free spirit. It seems like to me, she would leave, she would come back, she would kind of, she was free spirited, very young. And because I think of her age, this is just me talking here, but I think because of her age, she just was naive, didn't understand the dangers in life, didn't recognize how much danger she was in. And like young hearts do, old hearts do as well, fell in love with, I think, the wrong person, who was not a boy. She was a girl. He was not a boy. He was a man. His name, David Anthony Burke, who went by D4vd. It's really David D4vd, but it's ridiculously stupid. So I'm following Pascal and saying D4vd. This guy, who normally looked like this, very fashionable, very attractive to a young girl, has serious musical success, known to be very talented. I think he was pretty much full of himself in any interview I've seen him give or live stream that I saw him on. But what artist isn't, right? Very few. Very, very few. So, yeah, he was attractive. And she got caught in his orbit and couldn't escape. Now, she goes missing. And months later, after she would have turned 15 years old, her decomposing body was found in the front trunk of his Tesla by City of Los Angeles employees who had had it in their garage after it had been towed. So that is kind of the background here. Now, D4vd, he is facing charges, serious charges. He's facing serious charges, folks. He's facing murder charges. There are special circumstances involved. And this is what I thought we would do. Because we can't be in the courtroom, we can go to the reports of what is happening in the courtroom. So what I did is I found what I think is the best reporting so far. And instead of, I found 5 articles over the last 2 days that I think is outstanding reporting. But I went through it so that we're not just like talking about the same thing over and over and over again, and highlighted the parts that I want to read from each one, just so we can be up to date on what has been going on with this case. All right, so join me, if you will, over here. We're going to go to a report from yesterday from Rolling Stone, written by Nancy Dillon, John Blistine. You'll see where it is marked in yellow. Those are the parts that I will be reading, okay? D4vd, the platinum-selling musician born David Anthony Burke, showed no emotion today, as yesterday, as he stared at gruesome photos of the decomposed remains of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, found in the front trunk of his Tesla last year. The photos, shared on a large screen in a Los Angeles courtroom during the singer's preliminary hearing in his murder case, showed Rivas's limbless torso in one black plastic bag and her dismembered arms and legs in another. One image of her right knee showed flecks of blue plastic the prosecutor said came from an inflatable pool Burke used to collect blood while dismembering her body. A close-up of her left hand showed that her ring and pinky fingers had been cut off. My nose is going to be raw by the end of tonight. I've got paper towels. Oh my goodness. Rivas's mother, Mercedes Martinez, silently bowed her head, averted her eyes, and started crying as she sat in the front row of the gallery. The teen's father, Jesus Rivas, looked at the screen with a mournful expression and repeatedly checked on Martinez as their lawyer, Patrick Steinfeld, sat next to them. Burke, 21, is accused of murdering Celeste on April 23rd, 2025, to cover up his SA of the girl. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges, as one has a right to. But sometimes I just wish, you know what? These poor parents had to sit in a courtroom and look at images of their daughter's mutilated, dismembered corpse. Do you think Mr. Rivas will ever get that out of his head? Ever? Ever? Did Ms. Martinez see as she averted her eyes? She certainly heard the description and the testimony. How about you just plead guilty and go away? We don't have to think about you ever again. It's so selfish. But what would you expect? I guess I wouldn't expect anything other than selfishness from a dill hole like this. This is so infuriating. They have to sit in court for this. Now, they choose to sit in court because they're strong and they want to face their daughter's alleged murderer. But they shouldn't have to do that. He should just say, yep, I did it. Off I go. And that would be terrific. Okay, continuing the article from yesterday. Today's hearing was the first in a multi-day proceeding during which prosecutors will lay out the evidence they've accumulated against Burke before a judge decides whether there's enough to warrant a jury trial. Hey, that's a better description than what I gave at the beginning, right? Very simple. One sentence. Well done, professional writers. Burke's lawyers sought to expose weaknesses in the prosecution's case. Yeah, that's their purpose. Questioning why investigators had not conducted more extensive testing, including DNA analysis on certain items found in Burke's home or on the exterior of the Tesla. According to prosecutors, Burke lured Rivas to his house in an Uber, stabbed her to death on April 23, 2025, traveled to several states for a promotional tour, then returned to Los Angeles, where he purportedly then dismembered her body and concealed it in his vehicle. Why his vehicle? Dillholery, apparently. That's it. It's just idiocy. I mean, thank you for being a stupid criminal. That's the only thank you that I can give to Mr. Burke. Thank you for being such an idiot. Storing her in your car. Thank you for doing that. Police found Rivas's remains after the Tesla was tagged as abandoned and impounded. Prosecutors claim Burke first met Rivas online in January 2022. When? When she was 11 years old. They allege he started what they call in this article a sexual relationship. That is no relationship. We all know it. The writers know it. They have to say it that way. Because is there another way to say it? But I guess what we could say is he began to SA her, they allege, in November of 2023 when she was a 13-year-old student in the 7th grade and he was an 18-year-old musician with a record deal and a breakout song, Romantic Homicide, that cracked the Billboard Hot 100 chart. 13. Burke was arrested April 16th and has pleaded not guilty because he's an idiot to first-degree murder. I may have put my own little seasoning on that last sentence. Continuous essay of a child under the age of 14 and unlawful mutilation of human remains. Prosecutors added special circumstance allegations of murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, and lying in wait. Earlier in the hearing yesterday, Silverman played 10 minutes of body cam footage showing Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies visiting Burke at a West Hollywood residence on February 17, 2024, a few days after Rivas's parents first reported her missing from their home in Lake Elsinore, a city in the Inland Empire in Riverside County, about 70 miles southeast of Los Angeles. Riverside County Sheriff's investigators had found Burke's number in Rivas's phone records, informed him of her age, and warned him he would get a visit, prosecutors claim. Burke told deputies he'd met Rivas on Discord and Instagram, saw her once in person at a house in Lake Elsinore on November 12, 2023, and last communicated with her a few days earlier on February 13th. The address he gave for the Lake Elsinore house was around the corner and a few blocks south of Rivas's family house. Quote, she told me she was 18. Hold on. 18? Look at that picture. This is about the age that she was. Right here. Okay? She told me she was 18, he told investigators on the video. Everybody is saying she's 13. Burke showed the deputies the missing persons flyer that Rivas's family had posted online. He had it on his phone and held it up for Gonzalez to take his own photo. He also showed, Gonzalez being the deputy, he also showed the deputies Rivas's 6th grade yearbook photo from her middle school in Lake Elsinore. In the photo, she's wearing a black sweatshirt with the Batman insignia. Does she look 13? Gonzalez asked. No, Burke replied as he showed the deputies the yearbook photo. This is when she was 13. This is 6th grade. But they're saying this was taken last year. So playing like he didn't know. Guys, come on. Come on. I cannot believe it. They're saying that this was taken last year. Can you believe that? Boy, has she grown up. She looks like she's at least 18 years old. Come on. Oh my goodness, that is just infuriating. People are so dumb. Especially, okay. In a disturbing evidence brief filed in April, prosecutors alleged that after Rivas returned home in February 2024 and her parents confiscated her home, Burke bought her a burner phone and paid a classmate $1,000 to deliver it. Byers testified today that investigators later found evidence that Burke traveled with Rivas to Texas and London, buying both of their tickets directly from United Airlines. How does one get a child to London on a commercial airline? Like, I had wondered about that if it was private or something. But if it's on United, how did he do that? Byers also testified about evidence the prosecutors say shows Burke was the last person to drive the Tesla before it was towed. He said data from the car showed Burke's iPhone 16, which was never recovered, disconnecting from the vehicle at 2:18 p.m. on July 29th, 2025, shortly after neighborhood surveillance video captured the black Tesla leaving the area of Burke's nearby rental home at 1368 Vireo Place. 2 minutes later, a neighbor's security camera recorded Burke walking back toward the house, Byers said, as screenshots from the video were shown on the courtroom screen. I really wish my nose was not running like this. Byers said automated license plate readers on passing LAPD vehicles repeatedly recorded the Tesla in the same parking spot between July 29th and September 8th, suggesting that it remained there after Burke allegedly parked it and left on tour. He said Rivas's father called LAPD on September 10th to say he was concerned the unidentified female found in the trunk was his daughter. Prosecutors claim that after the murder, Burke bought chainsaws and a blue 8x8 inflatable pool on Amazon and dismembered Rivas inside the pool in the garage of his rented home in the Hollywood Hills. They claim he later stowed her remains in the front trunk of his Tesla and went on tour to support his first major label album, Withered, which was released 2 days after the alleged murder. In his testimony today, Byers said Burke bought, I think I just read that, 2 chainsaws on Amazon May 1st, 2025, using his Amazon account and the alias Travion Davis. He said the account was linked to an email used by Burke identified as Travion0012@gmail.com. The detective also disclosed for the first time that investigators believed Burke purchased a third chainsaw, a 10-inch Makita from Home Depot on May 4th, 2025, and had it delivered to his home through Uber Postmates. He said the Makita chainsaw was never recovered. Byers said records showed that Burke also bought a mop and bucket system on May 4th. Weeks later, on July 7th, Burke allegedly purchased a burn cage on Amazon using the alias Victoria Mendez, he said. On July 12th, he also bought a fireproof mat through Amazon using the Davis alias, Byers testified. Recovered text messages between Burke and Rivas allegedly refer to sex, pregnancy, and abortion. Quote, "All we do is have sex and just hang out. Man, I want more than that for myself," Rivas allegedly wrote in one message. Prosecutors say Rivas expressed jealousy over Burke's relationships with other women, and the two argued about it over text on April 22nd, 2025. The following night, Burke allegedly paid an Uber driver to bring her to his home. Prosecutors claim he killed Rivas soon after she arrived because she had indicated she planned to expose him. Quote, "Knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out," the filing read. And we read that entire filing a month or so ago. Benjamin Gregor, the former financial manager at Burke's management company, Mogul Vision, was the final witness to testify yesterday. Prosecutors called him to support their contention that Burke killed Rivas to protect a lucrative music career. Gregor, who said he still works for Burke's family on a $7,500 a month monthly retainer, confirmed he had testified before an investigative grand jury in the case. He estimated that Burke had earned roughly $10 million to $11.5 million in gross revenue from his recording, merchandising, and music publishing deals. That is not a little bit of money. Like, he'd been working for a year and he grossed $11.5 million. Wow. Gregor also confirmed that he had discussed transferring Texas properties held in Burke's name to his mother, Colleen Burke. Quote, do you remember testifying that the reason you told her to do that was to protect the estate from any civil suits so the victim's family wouldn't be able to obtain those? Silverman asked. I do recall, yes, Gregor replied. He added that he spoke to Colleen last week about finding a new entertainment lawyer for her son while he's in custody. Okay, before the hearing started yesterday, the judge partially granted Burke's request to have his shackles removed in court. At his 5 prior court appearances, Burke was in restraints the whole time, with the bailiff cuffing him to his chair. His defense argued that Burke has no prior criminal record and he's been fully compliant while in custody since his April 16th arrest. Wow. Wow. Okay, so that was yesterday. Let's move on to today. This is from CBS News, written by Chelsea Hylton, Jasmine Veal, Matthew Rodriguez, Dean Fiorezzi, and Austin Turner. D4vd hearing continues with prosecutors questioning his earnings relationship with Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Okay. On the second day of the preliminary hearing in the murder case against D4vd, blah, 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 prosecutors turn their focus to his finances and his relationship with the teen. He's charged with first-degree murder, special circumstances, lewd and lascivious acts with an individual under 14, and mutilating a body. Inside a downtown LA courtroom, Beth Silverman from the LA County DA's office called several witnesses to the stand. Benjamin Gregor, who worked on D4vd's management team, testified that Burke earned millions of dollars in controlled assets worth more than $10 million. He said that after Hernandez's remains were discovered, the management team began using encrypted messaging apps. Oh, come on. First of all, if he's grossing $11.5 million and he controls more than $10 million in assets, dude, that's a pretty freaking good management team. But, okay. They start using encrypted messaging apps after the remains were found. No, that's not. Nothing to see here. That's not suspicious at all. Come on. Gregor also testified that Burke discussed using a Texas property as potential bail money and advised him to transfer other properties to his mother's name to protect her from possible civil lawsuits. During cross-examination, Gregor said he met Burke fewer than 5 times and never questioned how much money he was making. Gregor also said he was aware that Burke was paying for security, including a man to live in his Hollywood Hills home for several months. Give me a second, guys. Wow. Those of you on the podcast that are just listening to this, you don't get the benefit of watching me blow my nose. That's horrible. Okay. The defense argued that Gregor and his mother managed Burke's finances and that he was unaware of the day-to-day handling. Silverman returned by saying that Burke had credit cards and was making purchases. Gregor testified that he asked Burke about purchasing airline tickets for Hernandez to travel to London with him. The second witness called to the stand was Louis Poimiru, the senior vice president of finance at Interscope Capital. Silverman asked Poimiru about Burke's contract termination in December 2025. Silverman said Burke's contract started in 2022 and ended in December 2025. She showed payments that were made to Burke, including $950,000 in 22, $3.869 million in 23, and $2.7 million in 25. Poimiru said Burke also made money through his brand deals with companies like Crocs, Hollister, and Bose. Silverman asked what percentage of the brand deals Burke was paid, and he said it was about 90%, which totaled $485,000. Silverman then called up Officer Sean Buenrostro. Hey, by the way, Crocs, Hollister, Bose. Just a quick little pitch. Just a quick little pitch, okay? You know what? I won't wear Crocs and I won't listen to Bose. So Hollister, okay? Oh, who am I kidding? I'll listen to Bose for the right price. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Hollister and Bose. I am much cheaper and am not a murderer. Just putting that pitch out there. Okay? All right. Let's see. Silverman then called up Officer Sean Buenrostro from the California Highway Patrol. Buenrostro was dispatched to the site of Highway 154 just east of Cielo Road on January 7th, 2026, where a Caltrans worker found Hernandez's ID card. Buenrostro said the Caltrans worker found the U.S. passport card in tall grass near the shoulder of the highway. As Silverman showed a photo of the passport, Hernandez's mom became visibly upset and was comforted by people around her. During the defense's cross-examination, attorneys pointed out that the worker was holding the passport with no gloves on, and even tried to put some suspicion on the worker who found it. They also argued the officer did not know how long the passport had been at the location where it was found, or if it was washed by a storm. The fourth witness of the day was Chelsea Murillo, a criminologist from the LA Police Department. She was involved in collecting and preserving evidence from the Tesla. She testified that there was a layer of dust on the Tesla, which meant it had been sitting out for a long period of time. She said there was a strong odor that was coming from the decomposing body. She also described seeing insects in the front trunk. Silverman showed the court a photo of multiple air fresheners inside the Tesla. We're going to get to that a little bit in more detail here in a second, that Murillo said were found mainly in the front trunk, center console, and back seats. So they were spread out. If the judge finds probable cause, the next step after the preliminary hearing is setting a trial date. I think, yeah, let's see. No, we already did those things. Okay. This from The Guardian. Prosecutors argue D4vd had financial motive to kill Celeste, which he did, obviously. Singer D4vd had a multi-million-dollar recording deal. An executive at his former label testified on Wednesday as prosecutors sought to establish that the musician had financial motivation to kill Celeste. The scope of how much Interscope Records was paying the singer came clear on the second day of the hearing to determine if there was probable cause. Blah, 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 blah. And then it just, from 2022 to 2025, Interscope paid Burke $7.2 million, a figure that encompassed legal fees and trust mandated by California law for underage entertainers. His compensation followed a testy exchange in the morning as prosecutors encountered the defense's suggestion that their client was not privy to his finances. Attorneys for Burke repeatedly objected to questions from Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman about whether the singer's former financial manager, Benjamin Gregor, knew of Burke arranging tickets for Rivas Hernandez to travel to London and his home in Texas. Rivas Hernandez's parents, Jesus Rivas and Mercedes Martinez, returned to court on Wednesday dressed in all black. The two sat in the first row, accompanied by their lawyer. Martinez dropped her head and wiped her eyes in the early afternoon when prosecutors presented a photograph of her daughter's passport, which a Caltrans employee discovered. Let's see. I think we got all that. Okay. This from Rolling Stone. More about the air fresheners. And this to me is completely damning. I know that we talked about air fresheners. A lot of people talked about it online as we've been waiting for more evidence to come out. But let's read this here. Again, Nancy Dillon and John Blistine from Rolling Stone. At least 11 11 air fresheners were found inside D4vd's Tesla, along with the decomposing remains of Celeste. LAPD criminalist Chelsea Murillo said she recovered most of the air fresheners from the center console of the Tesla Model X, though others were scattered in the rear seats and in the front trunk. Oh, in the front trunk. She also found extensive insect activity in the front trunk and noticed a strong odor when she helped process the vehicle on September 9th, 2025. Rivas's remains had been found in the car's front trunk the day before. Prosecutors showed a photo of the recovered air fresheners as well as one depicting a large patch of pale yellow fly larvae inside the vehicle. Murillo only testified for a few minutes before the lunch break. She followed a California Highway Patrol officer all about the card. And then we talked about Poimiru. Yeah, I think we got all this. But 11 air fresheners. Yeah, we got all that. Okay, 11 air fresheners. The last article. This one I wanted to bring up simply because we've got some sketches. This from the Mirror, Caroline Gaspich. On the podcast, people are like, what is going on with the audio here? Court sketches depict most disturbing evidence yet in teen murder case against D4vd. New court sketches offer a look. Look at this one. Showing, it's a sketch of David Anthony Burke with pictures, kind of like pictures of a shovel, pictures of like a burn, like a fire, pictures of fingers with tattoos on it. The shovel says spade purchase from Home Depot. Okay, new court sketches offer a look at some of the horrific evidence presented during D4vd's preliminary hearing. During the hearing, prosecutors presented photographic evidence depicting the condition of the victim's remains when detectives recovered them at the Hollywood Tow Yard last year. This comes as Celeste's parents were encouraged to turn their heads as the traumatic evidence was presented. In court sketches replacing the photos, there are drawings of severed fingers, Celeste's arm cut off at the elbow, her limbless torso, and a finger with the phrase "shh" tattooed across. Other drawings showcase the weapons that D4vd allegedly used to destroy and get rid of the evidence, including a chainsaw, inflatable pool, open car, a white trash bag, and a heavy-duty laundry bag. According to witnesses in the courtroom, D4vd was said to have had an expressionless face as the images passed by on the screen. Here's a sketch of, I believe, LAPD Detective Josh Byers showing other photos, right? Chainsaws, the inflatable pool, more chainsaws, body parts, the trunk of the Tesla open. Looks like, a hand with fingers missing, a white trash bag, the burn barrel. One looks like maybe a washing machine. The trash bags. Okay, when asked what he discovered when he investigated the inside of D4vd's Tesla, he said the trunk was open. There was a partially unzipped body bag with torso and head, missing extremities at the time. Here is this looks like a sketch of D4vd's counsel, his attorney, standing at a podium asking questions. And then here's another one with D4vd sitting at a table. He's leaning on an arm. He's got an orange jumpsuit. Looks like he's got sweatshirt sleeves underneath it. He's sitting next to counsel who is wearing glasses, long brown hair. The big ones, I think, guys, are like the one of Detective Byers with the trash bags, the inflatable pool, the chainsaws, the fingers, the hands, the body, the trunk, that sort of stuff. And then the one of David Anthony Burke wearing glasses in his orange prison jumpsuit with sleeves underneath it, pictures of a spade shovel, a fire, fingers with tattoos next to a ruler, stuff like that. So, I mean, this was a gruesome preliminary hearing. And like I've been to my fair share of prelims, and I know that many of you have as well, or have seen them on TV. And they can get graphic. This one seems to be especially so. Well, because the nature of the crime, right? The nature of the crime is graphic. It is beyond the pale. Like it's hard to believe sometimes that a human being can do this to another human. It's hard to believe that a human being could do this to any creature, big or small. But apparently this man has. Hey, Mooney, coming through clutch, gifting 5 memberships just in time for several of you to join us here in about a half an hour. I got to move on. So I'm going to be really, really quick with reading through some comments. Nick Danger says, just a feeling I have referring to David as D4vd brings kind of a playful twist to his name. And in your words, stupid, let's not refer to him as such. I will choose to do so because I have chosen to do so. But you can choose to do it differently. Mother Dragon says, I have only heard a small amount of this. I think he should just admit to it. Yeah, just save her family. My goodness. Sadly, I think he'll take a plea instead of going to trial, probably hoping for a possibility of parole. I hope he does take a plea, but that it doesn't include the possibility of parole. That's what I hope. Let's see. Ataya says, Gavin, well, he did use an alias to purchase the flight tickets, same one he used to buy the chainsaws. I guess I missed that. A couple others. Patty says, just stick a tissue up your nose. I need to. It is bad, guys. My nose is a running. Sharky Sharona coming in clutch, also given 5 gift memberships. I hope you 10 new members are going to join us on our live stream tonight, our members only live stream. Thank you very much, Sharky. Deeply appreciate you. Looks like, we got 10 new members thanks to Sharky and Mooney. Listen, you don't have to have an IE or a Y at the end of your name to gift memberships either. You could whatever you want to do. Just throwing that out there. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Guys, that's what we know so far about the prelim. We will know more. We will talk about it some more tomorrow. But for now, why don't let's see, we've covered that. So we've got a couple of true crime headlines coming up. We got in the Nolan Wells case, in the Karen Reed saga, we've got some really interesting good news. But before we get into any of that, how about we do 3 questions? Let's answer some 3 questions. Javi, you going to push that button or what?
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
As I blow my nose. Guys, in this segment, I answer 3 questions that you send to me at 3questions@gavinfish.com. The email address on your screen, it is spelled out. 3questions@gavinfish.com. Question number 1 from Zoe. I probably should have prepared my answers on these, but I did not. What is your favorite memory with your family? Well, a lot of you shared lots of favorite memories. I don't think that I have a single favorite memory, but going off just kind of riffing off what you guys were saying, we had so many fun times when I was a kid. My goodness, the Christmases, the Thanksgivings, the birthdays, the baptisms, the marriages, so many things that we did with extended family was just so much fun. Kimberly and I, we've made so many memories as a family together. Sometimes it starts out as, let me give you one that just happened in the last month. We grabbed our littles and we're like, hey, let's go outside and go on a hike. And they're like, oh, I don't want to go on a hike. We had to force them to go. We get out to where we're going to hike. It's just a simple little walk. It's not that big of a deal. But we're only like a minute and a half into it. And our son goes, this was a good idea. That's a favorite memory. It's only a month old. I've got a lot of those. So many of those. Question number 2. What is your most treasured memory? Oh my goodness. It depends on with whom. My most treasured memory. I'll give you an example. I've had a very happy life. Shortly after my dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and this was years ago, and I just was like, you know what, Dad, you need to move more. You need some exercise. So why don't we walk in the mornings? I don't like to get up in the morning, by the way, but that he and I every weekday would get up early in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we would go walking for an hour. And that lasted probably 2 years, maybe 3 years, where he and I would just go walking in the morning. And yeah, it was just father-son time. We solved the world's problems. Talked about stuff, everything from the kids to golf to, the space race of the 60s and auto mechanics and everything in between, like everything. It was 2 years of me not wanting to get up early in the morning, but forcing myself to do it and having an amazing couple of years every single day with my father as a grown-up. I loved it. Question number 3, what kind of music do you listen to when you drive around? I have a playlist that's it's growing. It's probably 500 songs now, and it's mostly 70s and 80s and 90s pop. I recently remembered, like, I hadn't listened to her in probably 2.5 decades, but a Spanish artist named Marta Sanchez from the 90s that did. It's the kind of music that I don't listen to anymore. It's kind of like 90s dance pop. Like listen to Ace of Base, but with a Barcelonense accent, Spanish language. But it's so freaking good. So, and plus it's a little nostalgic for me, right? So, yeah, I listen to that. In the Spanish language stuff, I listen a lot to Maná, Ricardo Arjonas, Thalia, Andrea del Boca, Donato y Estefano, Los Lobos, Gypsy Kings. Basically, music stopped for me at about 1999. Everything. I listened to stuff before that. That's the kind of music I listen to. And I love to hear your answers to these questions, guys. What's your favorite memory with your family? What's your most treasured memory? And question number 3, what kind of music do you listen to when you drive around? And while you are answering those questions over here, I'm going to take you through a couple headlines. Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie, guys. I've just got a couple updates for you in cases that we are following. First, in the Nolan Wells case, the independent autopsy results are in. From NBCnews.com, Rebecca Cohen writes, Nolan Wells' independent autopsy results in undetermined cause and manner of death. And there's a picture of the handsome young man with so much to look forward to with both of his parents. An independent autopsy report commissioned by the legal team representing Nolan Wells' family found that the teenager's cause and manner of death were undetermined, pending investigation. But the doctor who performed the autopsy said in the report that he could not rule out foul play, according to the family's lawyer, Ben Crump, who revealed the findings at a news conference Wednesday, that's today, at the 117th NAACP National Convention in Chicago. Crump added that the independent autopsy, which is the second one performed on Wells, also found red discoloration on the back of his head, but the report appeared to have gaps because of what Crump said were missing body parts and incomplete procedures. This is only another part of the puzzle, and even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. Crump said. The autopsy was performed by Dr. Roger Mitchell, a board-certified forensic pathologist and the president of the National Medical Association, the oldest and largest group of black physicians in the U.S., Crump said. It did not include a toxicology report, because the autopsy is different than toxicology. And they are two separate reports, though the autopsy report will sometimes refer back to tox. He said the independent autopsy was performed July 10th, 6 days after Wells disappeared and 4 days after his body was found on the northwestern shore of Horn Island, a small island off the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. By the way, missing body parts could be retained body parts, not that they were missing in the ocean or on the island, but they were retained by the first autopsy, perhaps. The Jackson County coroner also performed an autopsy on the body of the 18-year-old football player. Those results have not been released, and the coroner's office is waiting on a tox report from the medical examiner's office to be completed. I would imagine the Jackson County coroner did not perform the autopsy. I would imagine the medical examiner's office performed the autopsy. Jackson County coroner Bruce Lind said Tuesday that the state's autopsy report was not finished. Mitchell could not determine whether Wells was conscious when he entered the water or how he ended up in the water, according to the report. Crump called Wells' condition before entering the water the crux of the matter, adding it would be of utmost importance to be able to determine a cause and manner of death. The lawyer also said that because the state's autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there we go, Mitchell was unable to directly observe Wells' lungs for water intake or see what was inside of his stomach. Okay. Also, because of the level of decomp on Wells' body when Mitchell received it, Crump said it could not be determined whether there was bruising, citing the report. The report did note that there appeared to be no lacerations or fractures on Wells' body. So that's what we've got in the Nolan Wells case. We will be looking for that official autopsy. This is something that I expected. This came from the Boston Herald yesterday, written by Colleen Cronin. Quote, hundreds, if not thousands, close quote, of Michael Proctor's criminal cases to be reviewed following text scandal. Dateline Boston. Mass State Police Colonel Jeffrey Noble, pictured here, said that former trooper Michael Proctor worked on hundreds, if not thousands, of cases that need to be reviewed in remarks that aired Sunday. Every single case that Michael Proctor worked on needs to be looked at, Noble told WCVB's On the Record. Noble said Proctor's racist and misogynistic text messages, brought to light in a lawsuit filed against the state police and Canton Police Department by Karen Reed, were personally repulsive and repugnant to him. Though he probably said they were repulsive and repugnant. He said it in a Boston accent, which I can't do, I'm sure. Proctor investigated Reed for allegedly killing her. Yeah, we know that. Noble said the MSP are working with district attorneys to review other cases Proctor was on to see whether his behavior may have impacted the investigations. He noted that the review is going to take time. Quote, we have an obligation to ensure that people like that, with that type of approach and that type of bigotry, do not wear the uniform, he said. Guys, the problem that I have with this is that Mr. Noble, Colonel Noble, is behaving as if nobody knew. Nobody knew that people like that, with that type of approach and that type of bigotry, were wearing the uniform. They all knew. Come on. There are probably another 100 of them employed by the Massachusetts State Police, at least. If there's one, there's 100. Come on. So anyway, the DA's office is going to have to review hundreds, if not thousands, of those criminal cases. And as well they should, but come on, don't kid us or yourself, Colonel Noble, into believing that that you didn't know. Come on. That's BS. We all know it. Hey, Wanda, what are we going to do for our headline music today? Oh, her barbershop quartet has come in again. All right, guys, take it away. Wanda sings bass for the barbershop quartet. I will do my best not to hum along. Okay? Here we go, Wanda, take it away.
Glad tidings fill the air today. Worries seem to drift away. Hearts grow light with every word. Joyful news is sweetly heard.
Yeah, I can't help it. I can't help it. I feel like I'm like a fretless bass player there on that. That's good stuff, guys. That is really good stuff, Wanda. Terrific, terrific stuff. Guys, in good news, we got to cleanse the palate, We got to cleanse the palate and look at some good news. Here's something pretty fun. I liked this a lot. Man shocked to discover family's kitchen table was actually his ancestors' Qing Dynasty diploma. What? Diploma, you say, from the Qing Dynasty? What? Okay, in some of those really old countries, Greece, Turkey, China, history has a funny way of piling up and losing some of its intrigue. Take this kitchen table, for example. It's actually a kind of diploma issued in the Qing Dynasty, but Mr. Zhu of Anhui province didn't know, even though he and his family had taken meals on it more times than he could count. Look at it. I mean, it's written on it. Can you read what it says? It doesn't matter. Okay. Going viral on mainland social media, Zhu explained on the Chinese version of TikTok that he had never paid the plaque any mind. His parents were impressed by its sturdy timbers and repurposed it as a dining table in their home in this rural region of West China. Painted red, the two words Yuan Gong had been carved into the surface and colored in gold. One day on a lark, Zhu decided to research what the characters meant. He discovered that the plaque was an honor board given to his great-great-grandfather Zhu Yunli as a mark of distinction following his passage of the imperial examinations. Originating in the Tang Dynasty of the 7th century, the state exam to enter the imperial bureaucracy was conserved through all subsequent dynasties. The rigorous academic pursuit at times allowed commoners to break through social hierarchies and ensure at the best of times that a true meritocracy staffed imperial ministries with the best and brightest in the realm. Yuan Gong translates roughly to talent presented to the emperor and indicates that Zhu Yunli placed 6th in the state examinations that year. Quote, I never imagined that the table our family had used for decades was actually my great-great-grandfather's academic record, Zhu wrote. Pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. Let's take a look at it again. Painted in red, and I guess the gold is kind of worn off as it has been their family table forever. And those guys, those are your headlines. Okay, I got to cut it a little short because I got to get down and set up the darkroom before we do our members only and patron only after show coming up here in about 21 minutes. But a couple of your comments before we go. Let's see. Angela Host says, I wonder with that kind of money if his plan is to pay off someone to say they did it all and that Burke had no knowledge of the unaliving. I don't know. Sharky says, my favorite memories with family are summers at Lake Berryessa or Shasta area. Lake Berryessa is a beautiful place. Beautiful, beautiful place. And Elizabeth always thinks of the Zodiac when she thinks Lake Berryessa. For me, Lake Berryessa is a place that I would bring my airplane down low and fly the lake because it was just so beautiful and fun. And when you fly low, even in just like a little Cessna or Piper or something like that, you're going 100 and whatever knots, 110, 115 knots. It feels really fast when you're really low. So it's fun. Oh my Tosh says, Gavin, I remember the first time I fell in love when I was 13. It was such an intense feeling. And my first heartbreak, really extreme emotions. Celeste was going through such turmoil, my heart breaks. Mooney says, summers at Eagles Mere, PA, and winters doing the toboggan runs. That lake is something special. Mooney also says, I listen to very loud hard rock when driving. Coffee Time for D says true crime podcasts. Jonathan checking in from Texas. Melissa saying, I love too listening to 90s rock. And B Michigan says, I listen to NPR stations, news or classical music, or EDB on YouTube. Electronic dance, EDB? I don't know what that, I'm sorry. And Debbie, to round us out, says, to be fair, Colonel Noble, he was brought in from another state between the two Reed trials. There's probably a lot he didn't know. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. But everybody else knew, right? Everybody else knew. Fair enough. That I will take the correction, and thank you very much for that, Debbie. Guys, so members and patrons, you both have links to the live stream, which will be starting in 19 minutes from my basement. I did, if you got the link earlier in the day, go back again and get the link because I had to update it because the way that YouTube works, I have to tell it that I'm going to be using my old phone. So I did that and I had to update the link. So if you haven't seen the link in a while, you've got it bookmarked somewhere or open in another tab. That old link from like, I don't know, 30 minutes before we started is gone and a new link is there. Okay. And there's still time to join us if you want to be a member and join us for our after show, which we do every Wednesday after the show. I think that's why we call it an after show. Javi, did you come up with that? Yeah, it was Javi's. Did you come up with that term? Oh, Javi is saying that is just a generally recognized and known term for a show that is after another show. Anywho, so we're going to be doing that. Please check me out on all the socials, Facebook, X, Instagram, mostly Facebook. Join us over in the tank. The easiest way to find me is to go to gavinfish.com. Easiest way to find me on Facebook is to click the little fishy icon in the menu, and that will take you over to the tank, which is a growing group of true crime aficionados that hang out together and talk about true crime. With that, I shall bid you adieu, except to you who I shall see in 18 short minutes. And for the rest of you, I will catch you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves.